Hey guys, Nomus RC. We're actually going to install a 12-inch sub. So for the sub install, first thing that we're actually going to do is start pulling up this weather stripping. And then there's these little clips. So once we get the weather stripping back enough that we can expose one of these clips right here, you actually just push it up and bring it back over. Looks like we have a plastic clip in here, a press-in clip. We'll grab a flathead and pop that. Okay, now that we got these two little clips popped off, one right there, one right there, we actually have access to the factory sub now. And so this one's a 4-wire speaker. I'm only going to use 2 of the wires, and I'm actually going to leave this still connected, and then we'll also have a sub. So I'm just going to tap into these 2 wires right here. And what I'll actually be using today is this SNI 35. It will convert our signal to where we can just plug in RCA jacks. And then we have our gain frequencies here. So what I did is I put negative to negative and positive to positive. It's nice that this trunk is so big, we can actually just climb on in here. So anyway, I just tapped into these 2 wires right here with our SNI 35. Once this plays and I know that it's working, I'll actually solder those joints. Alright guys, this is where we're at. So we got that connected, we got our RCAs plugged in, we got our RCAs coming down. So this is a 12-inch box with an amplifier built in, but it's got its own little wiring harness here, fuse in it. All that we do is run positive to the battery, right? We run negative over to a ground right here. We have our remote wire right here, but we can go ahead and just touch this to the positive of the battery and try this system out. So let's go ahead and start the car and do that. And again, we're retaining the factory subwoofer, because the factory sub actually is a decent little 8. So here's our Pioneer. This thing is actually dirt cheap, and it's why I went with it. It has really good reviews, and it's 160 bucks, and it's all in one box. You drop it in, plug in a couple of wires, and go. Right? All right, let's see. Touching the remote. Oh yeah, buddy. So in order to run this amplifier, you have to have a remote wire ran. So last things that we're going to do here is we're going to solder this connection right here. And then we're going to solder those 2 connections right there. Right? And then I'll actually just use liquid electrical tape on those. And then all that we need to do is run our remote wire to somewhere positive that's activated with ignition. Done. Obviously, I'm an RC guy. Why would I do this any other way? 4S LiPo, right? And then we have a XT60 soldering iron that takes Hakko tips. A little bit of solder. You plug this in for just a few minutes and it heats up just as hot as my soldering iron upstairs. So let's get these 3 connections soldered. Okay guys, we got it all taped up here. We can go ahead and seal this back up. And we still need to find our spot for our remote wire. And then again, the way that these clips work, you just go like that. This comes up and over, and then you put your weather stripping back down. And you're ready to rock. So guys, I wound up pulling back this patch panel right behind the rear tail light, and I just took the remote wire, right? I unplugged this connector right here. These are actually the ones that go to the electrical system, not this connector. But I just started touching it to a bunch of wires while the car was off. Got nothing. And then when the car is on and I touch it to that very bottom left, the sub kicks on. So what we're going to do is we're actually, because this connector is easier to get to than that one, we're just going to wire it into this connector, because once we plug it in, it'll be set. So that's where we're going to do our remote wire, guys. That way everything is in the trunk. You literally don't have to run any wiring up front. You just wire it all right here and then you're done. All right, let's get this wired in, get this all cleaned up, get the liner back in here, and get this sub mounted and get it looking right. All right, guys, that's it. It's all installed. Nice. So why was it so easy to install an amp and a sub into a Genesis sedan, or Genesis in general? Because race car. Because your battery's right there and it's gigantic. So again, we just used the battery there, and then we tapped into one of our headlights for the remote wire. Boom, done. Tapped into this subwoofer up here with an SNI 35 to convert the signal to low. Boom, done. Awesome.